Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear students. I hope you all will be fine and doing very well. I'm your science teacher, and today we are going to revise our first unit, which is included in your assessment test. Fine. So we have done our first unit, which is classification of living things, in the previous classes as well. Fine, in the previous online classes, but today we are going to revise it once again because you have test from this unit. Your test will be based on MCQs, and you have 4 options for each statement, and you have to choose the correct option. Fine. So for this we are going to revise this unit once again thoroughly, and you will have to understand the unit very well so that you can do your test easily and can get the good marks. Okay. First, the name of the unit is classification of living things. So from the heading, the very first question arises that what is meant by classification. So classification means grouping. We can define classification like classification is the process of grouping things according to similarities and differences. Fine, we have variety of animals, we have variety of plants on this planet. So in order to understand them easily, scientists have grouped them. Fine, they have grouped the similar animals together. So by understanding just one animal, we can get knowledge of all the animals which are present in that group. So it means that classification is the process of grouping things according to similarities and differences. Those animals which are similar to each other, which have similar characters to one another, so they are grouped together, while the animals which are, or we can say the plants which are different from each other, they are not grouped together. So those plants or animals which are similar to one another, they are grouped together just to make it easy for anyone to understand them. Understand? So simply we can say that classification means grouping. Now the next question that arises, that why classification is important. So classification is important because by this we can determine the similarities and differences among the organism. If the organism are present, if the animal are present in one group, so it means that they have the similar characteristics, and by this we can understand the relationship among organisms. So if someone asks from you that if you are seeing the large number of animals in one group, so what does it mean? So it simply means that they are related to one another and they have similar characteristics. Fine. So just by understanding the characteristic of one animal or one plant, we can get information of throughout the group. Now the second topic is 5 kingdom system. What is kingdom system? As we know that we have a large number of animals and plants on this planet, so in order to study them easily, scientists have grouped them. They have divided all the organism, whether they are plant, whether they are animal, into the 5 groups. Fine. How many groups? They have divided into the 5 group, and each group is known as kingdom. Fine. Each large group is known as kingdom. The organisms have been divided into 5 kingdoms based on similarities and differences. And what is the name of this kingdom? The names of these kingdoms is Monera, Protista, Fungi, Plantae and Animalia. Fine. These are the 5 kingdoms in which the scientist has classified all the living organisms which are present on this earth. Fine. Whether they are microscopic or whether they are macroscopic, means whether they are larger in size or whether they are very small that you cannot see them with the naked eye. So they have classified all the organism into the 5 group, and these 5 group, this type of classification is known as 5 kingdom classification. So if there is a question that the scientist has classified all the organism into how many kingdoms, so you will just simply choose the option 5 kingdoms. Fine. And the names of these kingdoms are Monera, Protista, Fungi, Plantae and Animalia. You should memorize these names very well, okay? Because it's also important. Now we will go through this kingdom one by one thoroughly. Number first is kingdom Monera. These are made up of one cell, means they are unicellular. They are made up of only one cell and their structure is very simple. And the most common member, or we can say the most common example, is the bacteria. Bacteria is the member of kingdom Monera, fine, and they are found everywhere on earth, whether inside an animal's body or whether in air, water or land, everywhere, fine. Bacteria are found everywhere and they are the example of kingdom Monera. Some bacteria cause diseases in plants and animals, fine. They can cause diseases, it means that they have the harmful effect, but some are useful as well because they are present in the digestive tract and help in the process of digestion. Number second is kingdom Protista. Usually they live in water and they includes amoeba, paramecium and algae, means the most common usually habitat of king protists is the water, fine. They usually live where? They usually live in water. And amoeba or paramecium are made up of one cell, but some of them may consist of many cells, like some members consist of many cells and more than maybe consist of more than one cell, like amoeba and paramecium are made up of only one cell while the algae may consist of one cell or many cells, understand. And they have chlorophyll, it means they can prepare their own food. Their common examples are amoeba, paramecium and spirogyra. The next third kingdom is the kingdom fungi, fine. What is the name? That is the kingdom fungi. They are made up of one cell, but some are made up of many cells. It means that their members are maybe unicellular or they may be multicellular. And what's the need for their growth? They need moisture, fine. इन्हें थोड़ा सा moisture habitat चाहिए होता है for their growth. And as we have studied earlier that protists have chlorophyll, so they can prepare own food, but the fungi do not have chlorophyll and they need food from the other animals, fine. They cannot make their own food and they absorb food from a place where they live. For example, if the fungi has grown on the bread, so it will take its food from the bread, or on the orange, so it will take on its food from the orange, fine. So as it cannot prepare their own food, therefore it takes food from the place where it grows. Rhizopus is also the member of fungi and it is also known as black bread mold, fine. Where it grows on the moist bread and fruits. The most common member of kingdom fungi is the mushroom, which is just like the umbrella. You can see here as well, these are the mushrooms, fine. So it's just like an umbrella and they grow on the piles of rotten matter where some fungi are very large, like mushroom. We have studied earlier that some are unicellular while some are multicellular. So mushroom is an example of multicellular fungi because the mushrooms are large enough. You can see them with the help of your naked eye. You does not need any equipment to see them. They are large enough, understand? The next kingdom is kingdom Plantae. As the name indicates that the members of this kingdom are the plants, fine. The organisms of this kingdom have ability to make their own food by using energy from the sun. As we have studied many times that plant can prepare their own food by the process of photosynthesis. And why it is so? Because they contain chlorophyll. They have chlorophyll, because of which their color is green, fine. They have the chlorophyll has a green pigment called chloroplast, because of which their color is green and they can prepare their own food by using energy from the sun, fine. So members of this kingdom are plants, and plants can make their own food by using energy from the sun because they have chlorophyll and they are usually green in color. Okay, one important point is remaining in the kingdom fungi, that I have told you in the previous classes as well, that some mushrooms are eatable while some are poisonous. Fine. So remember that not all the mushrooms are eatable, some are poisonous while some are eatable. Understand? Next one is the kingdom Animalia. Kingdom Animalia, as the name indicates, the members of this kingdom are animals and they do not have chlorophyll. Fine, they do not have chlorophyll, so they cannot make their own food. We can see the examples of simply the human beings, because we need food from plants. We get food from the plants in form of fruit and vegetable, and we get food from the animals in form of meat, milk, etc. Fine. So we can, the animals cannot prepare their own food, and they can usually move from one place to another. While these are the main points, the underlined statement indicates that these are the important statement. You have to understand the complete chapter very well, but the images include the underlined lines, which means that these are the important statements. Fine. Then the next topic is the monocots and dicots. Monocot plants, the flowering plants whose seeds have only one cotyledon. Fine, whose seeds consist of only one cotyledon, they are known as monocot plants. For example, you can take the simply very common example of rice. You cannot divide the rice into two equal parts because it consists of only one cotyledon. Fine, you cannot divide the maize because it consists of only one cotyledon. So that is the example of monocot plants. With the simply you can say and understand from the name monocot. Mono means one, cot is for the cotyledon. So those plants whose seeds consist of only one cotyledon, they are called monocot plants, while those plants whose seeds consist of two cotyledons, they are called dicot plants, because their name indicate di is for two and cot is for cotyledons. Fine. Dicot plants are those plants whose seeds consist of two cotyledons. Understand? You can take the common example of pea plant. You can easily divide the pea into pea seed simply into two parts because it consists of two cotyledons. Okay, our next topic is the animals classification, or we can say the classification and characteristics of animals. Fine. We have already studied that all the animals that are present on this earth are divided into two main categories, and that is the vertebrate and invertebrate, and this classification is based on the presence or absence of the backbone, or we can say the vertebral column. Those animals in which the backbones are present, they are known as vertebrate, while the animals which are without backbone are known as invertebrates. Fine. So if we talk about the vertebrates, so they have a framework of bones in their body that is known as skeleton, and their whole body is divided into three main parts, which is head, thorax, and head, abdomen, and tail. And their brain is present within the skull, and they have the great ability of five senses. Means they can see, they can hear, they can taste, they can feel. So these are the five senses. They have the great ability of five senses, and their blood circulates within the tube-like structure which is known as blood vessels. Fine. And mostly their skin is covered with feathers, scales, or hairs. So for scale you can take the example of fish, for feathers you can take the example of bird, and for hairs you can take the example of mammals. Now if we talk about the invertebrates, so mostly the invertebrates which are found on earth, they do not have any type of bone in them, and their body structure of invertebrates maybe they have flat body structure, some have round and some have segmented. What is meant by segmented body structure? This one is the segmented body structure. Fine. These lines which are present on this form's body, it means that it has the segmented bodies. It is an example of invertebrate. This is the earthworm, and it has the segmented body. Their body parts of invertebrates are different in different groups. Fine. Now we will go through the vertebrate classification and invertebrate classification one by one. First we will go through the classification of vertebrates. So those animals which have backbone in them, they are known as vertebrates, and they are mainly classified into five main groups, which are the fish, amphibians, reptiles, birds and mammals. Fine. First of all, we will talk about fish. So they usually live in water, we all know that very well, and their body is pointed from at both ends. Fine. And the middle part is the thick one and the broader one, and they have the pointed body at both ends. Their body is usually like a boat shape, which is very useful for the swimming. Fine. That is the suitable to swim. And they have scales on their skin. Fish breathe through their gills, and they have fins and tail which help them to swim. Means their breathing is through the gills, and whereas the fins and tails help them in swimming. Now if we talk about their reproduction, so they reproduce through the eggs, means they lay eggs, and their body temperature depends on the temperature of their surrounding. So it was all about the fish. The second classification, or we can the second group of vertebrate is the amphibians. Amphibians can live both on land and in water. Fine. Means they can live both at both places. They can live in the water as well as they can live on the land. They respire through lungs and skin, but usually their skin is moist and loose. You can bring the image of frog in your mind, which has the slippery skin because it's the member of group amphibians, and you can say that the frogs are amphibians. And their body temperature depends on the temperature of their surroundings, and their development take place in water. Frog, toad, salamander, all these are the examples of amphibians. Fine. So you have to remember their characteristic. You have to understand their characteristics very well so that you can attempt your paper very easily. Fine. So you have to remember them. Now if we talk about the reptiles, so reptiles are also known as creeping animals. So if someone asks from you that what is the second name of creeping animals, or reptiles are also called by which name, so you can simply say the creeping animals. And their skin is thick and coarse, means they have the rough skin which protect their body from the external effects. And the animals lay eggs on land, and reproduction of these animals take place through the eggs, means they also lay eggs. Their body temperature depends on the temperature of their surrounding, and examples are lizard, crocodile, snake, tortoise are the examples of reptiles. Dinosaurs are the largest reptiles. Fine. These are also the members of reptiles, but they are not present right now because they are extinct now. Extinct animals are those animals which are not present right now. They were present sometime in the past, but they are not present. It means they are extinct. So dinosaurs are now extinct, and they were present sometime before in past, but they are the largest reptiles. So if someone asks from you that what are can you name the largest reptiles, you will say simply that the dinosaurs are the largest reptiles. Birds have feathers and beak. There is a very common characteristic, very we all are very familiar to it. And their bones are hollow. Why it is so? Because they have to lift up their body high in the air, so that's why their bone is made by Allah hollow, which helps them to lift their body very easily high in the air. Birds can fly in air. Some birds can swim in water, while some birds cannot fly, and they are known as running birds, like ostrich. Fine. You can see that is the ostrich which cannot fly, and the ostrich is known as running bird. All birds lay egg, and the birds that live in water, they have webbed feet. Fine. Like the feet of duck, they have webbed feet which help them in swimming. And their body temperature does not depend on the external environment, means they are warm blooded. And all the parrot ostrich, sparrow, pigeon, etc. These are the examples of birds. The next one is the mammals. These animals give milk, they have fur or hair on their body, and they do not lay egg. They actually give birth to their young ones, fine, and feed them on milk. Their body temperatures of mammal does not depend on their temperature of their external environment. Horse, cow, goat, tiger, cat, etc. All these are what? These are the mammals. If there is interesting information, that is polar bear lives in the snowy regions of the North Pole. Its body has thick covering of fur. Elephant lives in the hot climate, so its body is not covered by a thick layer of hair or fur. Bat is a flying mammal. Platypus is a mammal. The female lay eggs and feed milk to the young ones. And kangaroo keeps its newborn babies in external pouch on the belly, fine. You can see the kangaroo. This last one is the kangaroo, fine. This one is the kangaroo, and it has pouch on its belly in which the kangaroo keeps its babies in order to protect them. Now come towards the classification of invertebrates. So those animals which are without backbone, or there who do not have the backbone, so they are known as invertebrates. And the common groups, or we can say the major groups of invertebrates are sponges, worms, insects, mollusks, and echinoderms, fine. So first of all we will talk about sponges. So they are aquatic animals and they live in ocean, and they are of various colors, fine. Their color vary, and they usually remain attached to the stone, etc. And if we talk about their structure, their body structure, so their body is full of external pores and canals internally. Externally they have pores on their body, and internally they have a tube-like structures which are known as canals. Water enters through these pores and exits through a large pore. If any body parts break, they can form it again, means they have the capability of regeneration. The next topic is worms. Worms are soft bodies animals. Their body is round and cylindrical, and they have no legs, fine. So as they have round bodies, so they do not have legs. The body of some worms are segmented. We have talked about the segmented body earlier, that how it looks like. Example, the earthworm and tapeworm. The body of some worms are not segmented. It's not mandatory that all the worms have the segmented body. In some cases they have usually the unsegmented body. Insect, that is the classification, or we can say the group of invertebrates which have the jointed legs, and they usually have the 3 paired legs, or we can say they have the 6 legs, and their body is divided into 3 parts: head, thorax, and abdomen. And the external surface of the body is hard, which is called exoskeleton. That is the protective in function, and the exoskeleton protects and supports the body because it's hard and it's protective in function. So that's why it provides protection and it provides supports to the body. What provides supports? The exoskeleton. Find the skeleton which is present outside their body. One is the endoskeleton, which is present in our body, fine, like the framework of bone. While the exoskeleton, exo means outside, so the skeleton which is present outside the bodies of insect is known as exoskeleton. Mollusks, they are the soft bodies animals. They usually live in pond, lake, river, oceans, and on land. They move freely or remain attached, which means that both cases are present. They move freely, or in some cases they remain attached or to anything. Body of some mollusks is covered with shell, while some are without shell. Like you can take the examples of snail and oysters, which consist of shells, while the octopus, which is without shell, and they have the soft bodies. Echinoderms, these animals are found only in oceans, and they do not have any head. Their animals may be disc shaped or star shaped. The very common member is the starfish, which is usually called starfish because of its shape, which is the star shape, and the body has a spiny covering, fine. The body of the echinoderms have the spiny covering. The last topic is the biodiversity. The number of kinds of living things present at a particular place is called biodiversity. Find like variety of animals which are present at a particular place, it means that that is known as biodiversity. Find the kind of animal, the various kinds of animals, or we can say any living thing which are present at a particular place is called biodiversity. That number find is known as biodiversity. And there are the type of plant and animals no longer found in this world are called extinct. Fine, like we have talked about dinosaur earlier, which are present in the past, but right now they are not present. It means they are extinct now. And most animals which are very likely to become extinct in the near future, they are known as endangered animals. Fine, यानी वो वाली animals जो हमें जो भी खतरे में हैं, जो लग रहा है कि soon they will become extinct. So these animals are known as endangered animals. Like you can take the example of Indus dolphin, markhor, green turtle, hawk. All these are what? These are the endangered animals. Means there is a probability that they become extinct in the near future. Human impact on biodiversity, like how the activities of human beings affect the biodiversity, or the kinds of or the number of animals that are present at a particular place. So simply you can take the example of deforestation. So कि जब हम जो है डिफॉरेस्टेशन होती है, मीन्स फॉरेस्ट कट डाउन होते हैं, सो वो जो ट्रीज़ कट डाउन होते हैं तो वो कितने ही जो है बर्ड्स का हैबिटेट है, फॉरेस्ट में कितने ही दूसरे जानवर रहते हैं, मीन्स दैट इज़ द हैबिटेट फॉर देम, दैट इज़ द हाउस फॉर देम, होम फॉर देम. सो जब वो फॉरेस्ट कट डाउन हो जाते हैं, डिफॉरेस्टेशन हो जाती है, तो वो उनका जो वहाँ पर जो नंबर ऑफ़ एनिमल्स हैं वो भी इफ़ेक्ट हो जाते हैं. सो बिकॉज ऑफ द ह्यूमन एक्टिविटी द बायोडाइवर्सिटी इफ़ेक्ट्स वाइन वो क्या हो जाती है, अफेक्टेड हो जाती है. सो इसके लिए जो है सेकेंडली ह्यूमन एक्ट ऑफ एक्सेसिव हंटिंग हैज़ मेड एनिमल्स इंडेंजर्ड. जो ह्यूमन जो हैं जो शिकार करते हैं जानवरों का, इसकी वजह से भी बहुत ज़्यादा जानवर क्या हो गए हैं, बहुत ज़्यादा एनिमल्स क्या हो गए हैं, इंडेंजर्ड हो गए. मीन्स देयर इज़ द प्रोबेबिलिटी दैट दे विल सून बिकम एक्सटिंक्ट. So for the conservation, what we should do, we should for the conservation of biodiversity, trade of endangered animal has been regularized. To save the habitats, the number of game reserve has been increased. Game reserve, or we can also say game park, is a large area of land where wild animals live safely. Fine, यानी ये एक स्पेसिफिक एक एरिया होता है जिसको हम गेम रिजर्व या गेम पार्क कहते हैं, जहाँ पे वाइल्ड एनिमल्स जो हैं वो सेफली रह सकते हैं. ठीक है. And national parks have been made all over the world where endangered animals are kept. So it was all about your first unit, and these are the key points. You have to read them as well because it contains the important statement as well. So you have to read them one time very carefully. Understand? Hope you have understand the chapter very well. Good luck for your paper. Thank you.